Hey friends, Leigh Brown here with One Community Real Estate, and it's time for the Leigh Brown cooking show, whatever you want to call it. And I'm only on one screen this week because I tried to do the portrait orientation and the landscape, and frankly, that's complicated. It involves making my 15-year-old help out, and today was not in her chosen desired list of things to do. So we're gonna make lasagna because when people in your household are not really interested in cooking, if you make lasagna, they'll show up pretty quickly. So I bet you my kitchen will be full of people here in a minute. So we're gonna start by cooking our lasagna noodles down. Now, full disclosure, y'all ain't gonna see all the action on this one because there's a lot of steps. It takes a while to put lasagna together, but it's okay because I'm nice and I'm generous like that. And frankly, it'll be in the comments. We'll make a little graphic for y'all. And if you like my shirt, this is He Makes Beauty Out of Ashes. This came from my girlfriend who has her little shopping concord called Sweetest Beginnings. And I'll make sure and tag her in it so y'all can buy a shirt from her too, because during coronavirus, if you're at home cooking all the time, you need to look cute. And you look cuter in a locally owned business's stuff than you do at your house, frankly, in your very boring clothes. So, and your pajamas. Some of y'all need to get out of your pajamas just once in a while. So what we're gonna do while the lasagna noodles are cooking, and I don't buy the ones that fix themselves in the pan because that feels sketchy to me. And maybe for some of y'all it works. And I'm fairly sure that based on how y'all love to give me commentary, you're gonna tell me in the comments what I'm doing differently than you and how you're amazing. And I'll just say, make your own video. I'd be glad to look at it, maybe. And so I'm gonna put some diced onion in here. And if you're wondering why I'm scratching it out of a container, well, frankly, y'all can't see it because I'm using my Instagram version here. You need about a half an onion's worth of onion. But I don't over onion it because there's so much flavor in the lasagna. I don't want the onion to overpower it. So we're gonna put enough in. And then we're gonna scratch it around in a medium-high stock pot. If you have a Dutch oven, that would work too, but frankly, I do not have a Dutch oven. So we're using a stock pot. And I know some of y'all love me enough, you probably want my address so you can send me one. Please don't. I do not need any more things in my kitchen. It's already slam full. So in addition to this onion, oh, y'all are jealous because y'all can't smell this through the interwebs. You know, one day, they're probably going to have smell-o-vision, and then we're all in trouble. We'll all be as big as the side of a barn then. So in addition to my onions, I'm gonna put in, well actually before I put in the meats, let's do a little bit of garlic. And yes, I'm using McCormick dried diced garlic because I did not feel like buying any at the grocery store. There were too many people in there for me today, and I did not pick any up. And that jarred garlic I think is kind of weird. And so judge me if you must, but I do prefer minced dried McCormick's over that little weird stuff in a jar. So what we're gonna do after the garlic cooks in there with the onion, we're gonna add a pound of sausage. Today I'm using Carolina Pride from Greenwood, South Carolina, because they were out of Nice's again. And I think most of y'all must have learned to cook with Nice's because frankly, it is the best sausage. And it's even better liver mush. And if you don't know liver mush, then keep your eyes peeled because I have decided that since so many of my friends who are watching these videos are not from the South and you do not know what liver mush is, that it's time for you to be educated. So make sure you're subscribing to the channel because I'm probably going to make breakfast for supper. Oh, wait a minute. My viewer said I need to show y'all what I'm doing. So let's move the camera. Now y'all can see my stovetop. Look, isn't it clean? And yes, I have the children's hands back there. So I can remember when they were small and helpful and hugged me and stuff like that. I have 2 teenagers in my house, and so some of y'all may be wondering, Leigh Brown, where is your cocktail? I just drank a cocktail with my mother, and I can't continue to cook and also drink the whole time, or else it would definitely be a cooking series worth watching. Now, in addition to that pound of sausage, we're going to add a pound of ground beef here, and I would normally be using the store brand basic, but all they had today was the organic fancy meat. So it cost me an extra $1. Now, if you know how cheap I am with my cooking, that is going to change the cost of our recipe today from about $16 to about $17. But frankly, it's still cheaper than you going out to eat. And still way better for you than all that preservative stuff you insist on eating. So let's check our noodles over here. You're gonna cook them until they're al dente. And if y'all never knew, al dente means of the tooth, which means you can bite it and it is not mushy. If you cook down your noodles too far, y'all, and they're mushy, then when you put the sauce in, it'll be a hot mess. And you'll still like it, because frankly, it's still better than what you were gonna eat out of a Chef Boyardee can. But it won't be as good as it could be. So I always make things as good as they can be. Which is frankly, you know, why I've sold so many houses. You know, I try to do things the best way they can be and don't just halfway it. Which is why during the coronavirus, it's kind of irritating that we've been told in Charlotte and Mecklenburg County that if we want to sell a house that's occupied, they said just drive by the outside and take a picture with your cell phone. Y'all know that flew up all over me because that is not appropriate marketing for a property. When our vacant houses, bless them, they can have full professional photography. So I, for one, will be glad when the coronavirus passes. And then my family's gonna have to go on a massive diet. And so what we're gonna do next is while that's cooking, does it need to add anything to it? Yeah, not yet. I'll show you what we're gonna add though. We're gonna add some crushed tomatoes, a 28-ounce can. We're gonna add a can of tomato sauce. Now you can use the small cans. If you use the little ones, use 2 of them. I use the big can because, you know, size matters. And we're going to use 2 cans of tomato paste. So if you're the person who goes to the grocery store and buys all the wrong things, this is the best recipe for you, because whatever tomato stuff you bought, frankly, it can go in your sauce. So we're going to keep on browning until it's nicely browned. And if y'all have watched my other episodes, you know that I do cook with a lot of pork. And when you're cooking pork, it's got to be cooked all the way through. This is not the time for your sushi or your black and blue kind of steak. That's how I eat my filet, is rare black and blue. And that is not what we do with pork, friends. That is not healthy. And then after we add all that tomato, that's after this cooks, we're going to add some more ingredients. And so I'm going to take a pause here, and then we're going to splice in some more recipe for y'all after this break where I don't have any sponsors, but you'll know I put the video together. Hey friends, welcome back from what's not really a commercial break, but was a video break because there was things to do. Y'all, this is a time-intensive recipe. I know you're used to me making like 2-second ones, but it takes a minute to get your sauce going. Now, what you see in that pot, if you remember, just a minute ago, I told y'all it was that giant 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, 2 things of tomato paste, and a large tomato sauce, or 2 of them. Well, now it's sitting over here simmering. It's very happy, and we're going to add in some seasonings. Now, don't throw up. I know y'all know I don't like to use a lot of sugar, but this needs it, and I don't know why lasagna needs sugar, but I guess Italians are sweet. Like my friend Yolanda, she swears she's going to go with me to Italy sometime so she can actually speak the Italian for me. I appreciate her for that. We need to add some basil too, and I've got dried basil. Now, here in the summertime, when my basil plants are happy, we will use real basil. For now, we've got McCormick's dried stuff. And no, they don't sponsor me, but if you know somebody at McCormick that wants to sponsor me, I mean, I'm open to the conversation. Then we need some pepper, and I'm gonna put in about as much as I feel like it needs, as y'all are now aware of how we season things around this house. And we'll test it again when the sauce is done. You can always add in, but you can't take back out. Although I will say, if you didn't know that secret about mashed potatoes, if you really can't put too much salt in them. But the secret with potatoes and salt is that if you're fixing something that has entirely too much salt in it, you put about 1/4 of a peeled potato in there and it'll suck it right up. And I don't know why it works. It's science. You shouldn't question it. You should just know it. And what else do I need to add? I've added my basil. Oh, I didn't add my fennel seeds. I heard these are actually a drug. Did y'all hear that too? Or is that some other thing? I heard it was fennel. And you might recognize these from the Italian restaurant. Y'all know these things, right? You look at them on your pizza. You remember it from school. Do you remember that square and rectangular pizza they used to give us at the elementary school? So hey, shout out to my friends from Cabarrus County Schools from once upon a time. Those were the good pizza days, not the pepperoni, because that was sketchy little rabbit pellet looking stuff. But the sausage was the best, and they served it up at the concession stand at the ball field too. So if we would play well in our ball games, our daddy would let us get a piece of pizza up at the concession stand. Those were good times. What else did I forget? Oh, I didn't do salt. You know we have to have some salt. And if you never watched one of my favorite cooks was Justin Wilson. He was a Cajun cook, or as he said, Cajun. And he could measure teaspoons of salt right in his hand, and he would show you that it was measured properly. I refuse to do that because I don't like to measure, and so I just put in there what feels like enough because I got to feel my cooking. But I promise you, when I'm doing real estate, we don't really feel prices, and I'm kind of against people who feel prices. That's a different discussion altogether. And so now I would add parsley if I liked it. I don't like parsley, so I leave it out. This is a very freewheeling recipe. And now we're gonna let it, well, it's not boiling, it's bubbling. We're gonna cut this down to a simmer, and I'm gonna cover it, and we're gonna let it sit. Now here's the secret to your lasagna sauce, y'all. If you take it off before it's done, it will only be medium good, but if you let it simmer for a good 45 minutes to an hour, not only will your house smell amazing, well, today it will, but tomorrow it's gonna smell like old food, so just get some Febreze. But it'll smell amazing, it'll taste even better, and then I'm gonna take another scheduled break here, splice it back in, and I'll see y'all in just a minute. Okay, so our meat sauce is still cooking, and we want it to be good, so we're just gonna let it do its thing over there on simmer, and we're gonna make our cheese mixture in the meantime. And so what we're gonna use is a whole container of ricotta cheese, so whether your brand is 15 or 16 ounces, I reckon it doesn't matter. We're gonna add an egg, and I mean, it looks kind of like a, what's that dessert? Flan. Looks like flan, but it ain't flan, so don't be trying to eat this for dessert. And a little bit more salt. And the recipe I use calls for a half a teaspoon. I reckon that looks about right, so we're gonna put that in there. And then I need my fork to stir it up with, so I'm gonna have to go off camera because I forgot my fork. But aren't y'all glad that we have this thing called microphones and speakers? And this is y'all's fault for asking me to let you see what my hands are doing. So we're just gonna mix this up. That's gonna be our part of our cheese mixture. And it's gonna be layered in with the meat sauce and the noodles. And also, this recipe does call for mozzarella. So I'm just gonna give you a little warning here. This is where you're gonna be spending like $3 of your dollars, or even $4 if you don't buy it on sale. Don't buy the sliced sandwich mozzarella. I mean, it's all right. I mean, you can nibble on it for a snack. But for really good lasagna, you need to buy the real mozzarella, like the stuff that comes as a big old lump, like you would normally eat with the caprese salad, which is legit my favorite salad ever. So if you're ever out to eat with me, you will notice that if I have the opportunity, I will get a caprese salad. So you see how unappetizing that looks? I know, right? And that's what's gonna be part of your layer. So that's ready. And now we will be ready to put our lasagna together in just a couple of minutes. So if I had a sponsor, this will be your commercial. There's not, so I'm gonna splice it back together real quick. Okay, now it's time for the good part. You got your cheese mixture, your noodles, and by the way, I forgot to tell y'all, when you cook your noodles, after they're done cooking, rinse them in cold water, or they'll just keep on cooking over there by themselves and they'll stick together. So now I'm gonna get my fancy sauce here off the stove, and I've got a 9x13 dish, which if you did not already know, that's the ticket to the Baptist church. And so if you have a 9x13, we absolutely welcome you. In fact, we welcome you without one, but if you have one, extra credit. So we're gonna spread a layer of meat sauce across the bottom of our dish. And then, look at that. Ooh, right? Are y'all so excited? Wishing you were in my house. I know, right? If you're ever in North Carolina, though, call me and maybe I'll invite you over. And so we're gonna arrange a few of our noodles here. Now, if you're wondering why my noodles are dark or brown, I use whole wheat, trying to sneak some nutrition into my family's life, whether they like it or not. And then we're gonna take about half of this ricotta cheese mixture and spread it over the top. And this is what gives your lasagna the creaminess. So if you're somebody that doesn't like ricotta, but you like lasagna, I'm gonna be the one to break it to you. You've been eating ricotta all these years, even if nobody told you so. So just suck it up, buttercup, and eat it, and you'll enjoy it. So we're gonna have the ricotta mixed in here, kind of a regular layer. And I don't know if y'all saw Steve Brown sneak through the back of the video because he was trying to be incognito, but he's over there doing helpful things all day long, so helpful. So we've got our ricotta cheese mixture, and now we're gonna put a layer of mozzarella. And remember I told you I'd use the good mozzarella? So it kind of looks like dollops of stuff when it melts, but you won't see it because it's in between layers. So we're gonna put half our cheese in here. And by the way, that was about half my ricotta mixture. In fact, I might not have used half. So I'm gonna dollop it here in between my mozzarellas. That's the good thing about lasagna. It's not exactly a fancy dish, even though they charge like it at fancy restaurants. you can make it. It just takes you a little bit of time. And then we have some Parmesan. Of course, I use the Lowe's Foods brand because y'all know I love Lowe's Foods. And we're just gonna sprinkle some on here, about as much as we think it needs. The recipe calls for, I don't know, half a cup or whatever, but I usually use more cheese than a recipe calls for because I believe in myself like that. So now that's layer one. We're gonna put in another layer of meat sauce because y'all, this is like legit. Can you see that? I mean, it is chunky, meaty, tomatoey goodness, and it smells really good. I think it's the fennel seed that makes it smell so good. And by the way, my oven is at 375 degrees, and it's behind me getting all heated up and ready to roll. And let's get some more meat sauce in here. Make everybody feel like they got their money's worth of our good lasagna here. And, oh, that was good. And now, you know what's coming next, right? Oh, I forgot to cut the stove off. Always check and make sure your stove is cut off. So now we're gonna put some more noodles on top. And you basically just keep making layers until you're out of ingredients so that it will look nice. Let's get our ricotta in here. Now, when I've made my last layer, I do recommend putting tinfoil on top, but before you put your tinfoil on, spray it with cooking spray, and then it won't stick to all your stuff here. If you just put the tinfoil on top with no cooking spray, it'll take all the cheese with it when it comes off, and then you're gonna commit the cardinal sin of trying to eat the cooked cheese off of the tinfoil. It's gonna burn your mouth. And y'all know that when you burn your mouth, it's kind of like when you bite your tongue, it sticks with you for entirely too long, and I know that's annoying. And so we're gonna make sure we use all the cheese. We don't leave any behind. But by the way, if you have a little meat sauce left over because your layers just didn't ratio out that way, put a little bit on an English muffin. It makes an excellent little home lasagna. Put you a little bit of cheese on the top or whatever. You can pretend it's a pizza. In fact, it's a good way to make lunch for your children, or actually, frankly, you should let them make it for themselves because some of y'all have some very helpless people in your house. So we've got a little more mozzarella. Let's put a little more Parmesan on the top. And there we have it, friends. We have a giant 9x13 dish full of lasagna. And if you're watching this video, chances are you already saw the finished product because you know that's how I tease y'all to come back. So make sure you subscribe for more. If you have a good name for my cooking show, I'm totally open to suggestions because I'll be cooking as long as we have coronavirus making us stay in our houses. Y'all wash your hands, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. And oops, I forgot to tell y'all how long to cook it. After you put your tin foil on top that's sprayed with cooking spray, put it in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. Open up your oven, take off the tin foil, and put it back in for another 20 to 25 minutes. You might have to let it sit for a minute so you don't die from the heat, but y'all, it's so good. And with a glass of wine, it's even better. I'll see you next time.